In less than 2 weeks, January 25th, Republican National Committee men and women from across the nation will come together to decide who will be the party chairman for the Republican Party. Up until just a couple of weeks ago, Reince Priebus looked like a shoo-in. He's the man who's currently running the RNC, and he's been running unopposed. But that might be about to change, and it's who might be running against Priebus that's especially interesting. This subject deserves full disclosure. When Reince Priebus took over the Republican National Committee, he says he inherited a situation where the RNC was drowning in debt and in confidence. The RNC was over $22 million in debt with almost no cash on hand. Much of our donor base lost confidence and stopped contributing to the RNC. Priebus went on to say how he has done a lot of work to restore confidence and donations to the RNC. And while that's true, Reince Priebus was also the chairman of the RNC during the 2012 election, an election that was very tough for Republicans. They didn't win the White House. They actually lost seats in the Senate rather than picking up seats, which many observers thought they would, and they lost seats in the House, even though they retained control. Priebus went on to say this: "I am humbled by the over 130 RNC members who I have talked to who have pledged their support and public endorsement for me to continue on as chairman so we can finish the job that we started and continue to grow our party." Now, there are a total of 168 National Committee men, women, and state chair positions in the RNC, or committee members. Priebus says he has 130, and if that's true, well then yes, he is certainly a lock for another term as the head of the RNC. After all, he only needs 85 or so of the 168 state chairs and committee members that make up the Republican National Committee. Of course, Priebus hasn't had a challenger until maybe now. Meet Mark Willis.
I'm a veteran. I was in the Army for just 5.5 years, call it 6 years, as a counterintelligence agent. I was in Haiti and Bosnia, and saw a lot of things out there in the quote-unquote real world. As a young man, I traveled to Europe. I actually went to East Germany and East Berlin at the age of 19. Saw communism/socialism firsthand. Swore then that I would fight if this type of behavior or institutional top-down approach ever came to this country, or people tried to do that. I will fight tyranny wherever it is. I love America. I love this country. I love the Republican Party. And I believe the party is, the infrastructure's there. The people are there. But they need someone to come through and inspire them to get activated and get motivated. Again, whether it be for the chairmanship or for Congress or for the Senate or your local offices, those candidates need to have passion and desire and speak about conservatism and liberty and freedom and all the things that we talk about privately. That needs to go public. People need to be not be afraid to get out there and tell it like it is. For far too often, people get into organizations like the RNC, great people up there, but they get there and it gets very comfortable and nobody wants to rock the boat.
Willis says that he will run against Priebus if he can get the votes that he needs in order to be nominated. I'll explain how that situation works in just a minute. But here's why Willis says that he feels Priebus has got to go.
Mr. Priebus, I believe, is a manager of finances. He's doing a fine job of bringing in money and balancing the checkbook. But there's more to it than that. And the problems that this party faces, it's not about unity, and it's not about financial support. The things that are wrong with this party, money can't buy. We have to look deep within ourselves and say, why is the grassroots and the rank and file being treated this way? It's not us treating them. They wield the power. It's their power being wielded against us that's causing the problem. And they're lucky that we're still around. I mean, many people have left the party because of these very reasons.
And Willis knows all too well about what it means to be disenfranchised by the Republican Party. You see, Mark Willis was one of the delegates from the state of Maine, Ron Paul delegates as they were called. Either way, they were Republicans who were elected by other Republicans in Maine to go and serve as delegates at the Republican National Convention in Tampa in 2012. But Mark Willis was also among those Maine delegates who had their credentials stripped simply because they didn't support Governor Mitt Romney. You might remember this video, as Mark Willis was the one who led the walkout of the Maine delegates from the convention floor after the party wouldn't even consider a vote which would allow those rightful Maine delegates to be reinstated.
American
myself, 10 of delegates were cut, and we had to make a decision on what to do. Do we accept what they've given us, or do we not? When all avenues have been exhausted, we must walk out. We cannot accept what they've done to us. If you stay on that floor after every avenue has been exhausted, you will have accepted the tyrannical decision that came down upon our delegation, and I won't stand for it. If I'm the only one that walks out, so be it. Well, it turns out that, cooler heads prevailed, and everybody did the right thing and walked out.
So can Mark Willis actually run against Reince Priebus on January 25th for that RNC chair position? Well, maybe so. Here's how it works. Each state has 3 committee members, a state chair, a national committee man, and a national committee woman. Now, in order to be nominated for RNC chair, you have to have the support of at least 2 of those members in 3 different states. Right now, Willis has the support of 2, Maine and Nevada. He's looking for a third.
I believe, Ben, that if that third state comes through, all bets are off.
Now, if you followed the election last year, then you might think, well, the third should obviously be the state of Iowa. After all, Ron Paul Republicans completely took over the party there. But that may not be the case. A.J. Spiker, a Liberty Republican who is the state committee chairman in Iowa, has already endorsed Reince Priebus, saying this: "Over the past year, we have spoken with Reince regularly and have been impressed with his attention to detail, fundraising prowess, and desire to help Iowa retain its first-in-the-nation status in the presidential election process." I asked Willis whether he feels that Spiker should be supporting him instead of Priebus, considering how Priebus took part in disenfranchising so many Republicans at the RNC. Here's what Willis said about that.
He's a free man. I know that he has his reasons for doing so, and God bless him. He's a free man to vote for Mr. Priebus, abstain, vote for me, or support whoever he wants. And I know that he made that decision. I don't know if it was made recently or before, and I'm not going to get into that with him. I don't hold it against him personally. That's his choice.
So here's what you need to know. In order for Mark Willis to actually be able to bring a challenge against Reince Priebus, all he needs at this point are 2 more Republican committee members or 1 more state to back him. If that happens before noon, Friday, January 24th, it's game on. Mark Willis will be able to have his name thrown into the ring, and now committee members from across the nation will have to decide who should be running the party. Willis does tell me that if he gets that chance to run the Republican National Committee, he's going to hold Republicans accountable for hypocrisy, and he won't be afraid to challenge Democrats.
Well, let's just say that things turn out that I get the third state, and for some reason I actually win. Even during the campaign for this election, they're going to hear things from me that they've never heard before from any other candidate, any other person within the RNC. I'm not afraid to take the gloves off and attack the Democrats, and I'm not afraid to call out the hypocrisy within the Republican Party. Someone needs to stand up and do that. And if they see that someone like myself can get up there and do this, again, maybe they'll be inspired and say, well, if this guy can do it, maybe I can do it too.
And that is Full Disclosure.